So tonight we're going to be checking out Lacoste Homme, which is a fragrance that got a little bit of talk when it first came out, but for the most part, these Lacoste fragrances kind of fly under the radar. I mean, you don't hear them talked about that much, and honestly, from what I've tried so far, they're pretty great, affordable fragrances. Now, the Lacoste Homme line currently only has 3. They have Lacoste Homme Intense, and then they have Lacoste Homme Timeless, which is the newest version. I'm actually wearing it on my wrist right now, testing that one out. Probably going to have a review on that one coming up sometime here in the future, but I really wanted to cover Lacoste Homme first and get my thoughts out there on this one first, because I can tell you I'm very, very impressed with the original Homme. They have this line, and then of course they have, which you're probably more familiar with, this line of fragrances. They have these in all different colors: yellow, green, white, black. I mean, everything, all the different versions of this scent or whatever. They have all these. They got a lot more of them than Lacoste Homme, and these are really nice too. So today we're going to be checking this one out. I'm going to give you my full thoughts on it. I'm going to tell you how it smells, how it performs, when you can wear it, and overall if I think it's worth picking up. And let's go and jump into this. So let's start off with the opening of this fragrance. What you get right in the opening is this nice, beautiful, creamy orange note mixing with some rhubarb and ginger. So it's a pretty cool combination here. The orange smells incredible. You kind of have an idea of what that's going to do to the composition here, giving it this nice orangey, citrusy, somewhat citric type of smell. It's used in a lot of men's fragrances, and honestly, when used right, it creates an amazing fragrance. I mean, we've seen it multiple times. Bulgari Aqua Amara, which is one of the most popular from the line, got incredible hype. It utilizes the orange note to a heavy extent. Terre d'Hermès, basically all those fragrances, another one that uses orange a lot. I mean, you get what I'm saying here. When you use orange the right way, it creates an all-star fragrance. And I feel like, not as many companies and not as many perfumers use orange like they could be in really making some hit fragrances. But anyway, this one utilizes it to pretty heavy extent here in the opening, and it smells amazing. Again, that rhubarb and that ginger, that comes into play kind of behind the orange a little bit, and I find that what that does is give a little bit of a counterbalancing sweetness and spiciness as well. So it's kind of like this fresh, spicy orange, rhubarb, ginger kick in the opening, and it's honestly intoxicating. This is one of those fragrances that when I smelled it the first time, I was like, whoa, hold up, that smells amazing. And I honestly don't have that happen very often. I've talked about this before. When you smell a lot of fragrances, it kind of gets to a point where it takes a lot to really impress me. But this fragrance did that, and it did that 100%. I sprayed it in the air just to start off with, not really expecting too awfully much. I never really, thought about it. But when I smelled it, I'm like, that's incredible. I'm just smelling it right now. It smells amazing here. I love this fragrance. I love the opening especially. You can't beat it. This stuff is awesome, especially for the price. I find that what I also get with that orange is a little bit of vanilla in there in the opening. A little bit of vanilla, a little bit of almond. Now, I find that doesn't come into play as much until the mid and dry down. Again, for me, the opening is all about that orange, the ginger, the rhubarb, but I do get just a little bit more sweetness in there, and I do think it is from that creamy almond note, a little bit of vanilla as well. And that's basically what I pick up in the dry down, that vanilla, those spices, the woods, all of that stuff. So it dries down a little bit more warm. Some of the orange is still in there as well. Overall, it does end up turning out really nice in the dry down as well as in the opening. And that's something that is good news for me, because a lot of times these fragrance companies, they trick you. They get you with an amazing opening like this fragrance has, and then in the dry down, it's just not all that great. It's not anything overly impressive. At least that's kind of the trend I've noticed here lately with some new releases. But they really did a good job of bringing this one all together, tying it all together, and the dry down itself is also very nice. The scent overall is incredible. Like I mentioned earlier, it's something that really wowed me. It really kind of made me stop and think wow, what is this? Why haven't I tried this yet? That did that to me, and that's amazing that it did, especially because, it's a fragrance that you don't hear all that much talk about. I mean, yes, people do mention this one, but not nearly as much as some other fragrances out there, which in my opinion aren't even quite as good as this one. I mean, really for the value here, what you're getting a nice scent. I do have the intense version on the way. Like I said, right now I only have L'Homme and I have L'Homme Timeless, but the intense version I just ordered because I really do enjoy this one. And well, from what I've seen online, the intense is basically just an amped up version of this one, kind of like what you would expect. Timeless goes in quite a bit of a different direction here compared to this one. So let's talk about when you can wear Lacoste L'Homme. In my opinion, this is going to be a summer hit. This is going to be perfect for summer, even perfect for spring right now. But, really for me, I'm going to be enjoying it more in the summer, I think. Now, while that may be, not everyone's choice because of the sweetness that this has, a lot of people probably are going to be choosing it for spring. And, it is going to be a great spring fragrance as well. To be honest with you, it's probably going to be better for spring. That was kind of a weird sentence there, but I powered through it. You get what I'm trying to say. This is going to be probably better for spring because of the sweetness that it has. But for me, I'm going to be wearing it in some heat. I really want to try this in some heat. And I think even with that sweetness in there, it's going to really open up and smell incredible in the high heat. That's just kind of my hunch. Obviously, I can't test it in the high heat yet because it's not summer yet, but here in the spring weather that I've been testing it, it's been smelling great. So for me, I think it's going to be great for summer. Definitely a casual fragrance. It's nothing that I would dress up or use on like a date or an evening out or a dinner or anything like that. More of like a daytime summer casual fragrance is what I see this one as. And I think for that, it's going to be incredible. This is kind of one of those fragrances that doesn't really smell like anything else aside from, probably Lacoste L'Homme Intense, the flanker to this one. Nothing else out there in terms of other fragrances really smell like this one. So that's really exciting news for us who want to smell something different and want to wear something more unique. And I definitely do think that this one is unique. I think some people probably have, labeled it as generic and nothing special, but I'll be honest here with you guys. I mean, I think this one really adds a lot of value. And no, it's not just some random boring release and that is, something cheap. I mean, really for the price you're paying, about $30 or so for, a 100 ml bottle, you're getting something that is quite nice and, in my opinion, definitely unique, definitely adds value, and is just something that you don't really smell every day. Again, orange, in my opinion, is very underutilized as a fragrance note, and they definitely killed it in here. So let's go and talk about performance on this one. This is where it's a little bit of a letdown. Longevity on my skin, about 6 to 7 hours. So no, this one is not a good performing fragrance on me. 6 to 7 hours isn't really all that bad in terms of longevity. Where the issue comes in and where I'm saying it's bad performing is the projection. I just really wasn't getting any projection out of this, or at least not very much at all. Just doing my normal spray routine, I wasn't catching whiffs of it. It wasn't really making itself known to me. Every time I'd want to smell it, I would have to bring it right up to me. I'd spray it on my hand, bring it right up to me to smell it. When I sprayed it on my hand and I wouldn't bring it up to me, I wasn't really smelling it. When I would spray it on my neck, just where I normally spray and apply fragrances, I wasn't smelling it either. So it wasn't really projecting, it wasn't pushing out, leaving a little bit of a scent trail, but not all that much. You're really going to go heavy on the trigger on this one to get it to project out. Now I'm hoping that this is fixed and improved in the intense version. Again, I have that one coming. I haven't smelled it yet, so we'll have to see. Hopefully that one performs better. Fingers crossed, because this DNA definitely is amazing, and if I can get some better projection out of it, this stuff is really going to kill it in the summer for me, and I'll be wearing it a lot more if I can smell it better. So let's go and talk about compliment factors. This is going to be a compliment getting fragrance? I would say absolutely. This definitely has that mass-pleasing DNA that just works. It just works great. You have some freshness, you have some sweetness. When you combine those two things together, you get a mass appealing scent that is just going to work, and that's exactly what this is here. Again, what's nice about this one is the fact that it is a bit different. So, you may get the comment like, hey, I've never smelled that before. What is that you're wearing? Or, that smells different. That smells nice. And you don't necessarily always get that with a lot of fragrances out there. I've already touched on this a couple times, but price of this fragrance, it's very affordable, about $30 or so, right around that mark. I will be linked down below to FragranceNet. That's where I found it to be the cheapest. I believe you can get the 5-ounce bottles for a really good price as well. Probably price per mil wise, the 5-ounce bottle would be the way to go. And if I knew I was going to like this fragrance so much, I would have gotten the 5-ounce bottle, but I just sprung for the 100 ml just because I didn't know how much I was going to like it. But if I were to do it again, I would definitely purchase the big bottle. Again, especially because performance in terms of projection is going to be limiting on this version, so you probably will have to go with a few extra sprays than you normally would. So I'm going to go ahead and start to wrap this one up here. My final thoughts on Lacoste L'Homme. I love it. I think this stuff is incredible. And if you guys haven't tried this one yet, if you're kind of late to the party on this one like I am, get out there and smell it. I mean, seriously, it's amazing. I almost would say this is blind buy worthy, and I try not to do that in my videos. I mean, if you look, a lot of times I always do recommend to sample it, recommend you try it for yourself. I try not to, push a bunch of fragrances on you and say to go blind buy them because, I get it. This hobby is incredibly expensive and it varies so much from person to person that I just don't want to do that. But I am saying here in this instance, I would say the vast majority of you guys are going to like this scent and you are going to find it very pleasing, and some of you probably are going to love it. Actually, I think a lot of you will really love it like I do. So again, this is one where I would say, hey, if you want to blind buy it, pick yourself up a bottle for about $30. I mean, I don't think you're going to regret it. So guys, that's going to do it for me. That was my thoughts on Lacoste L'Homme. Again, I have the intense version on the way. Got the timeless version on my wrist. Currently testing it right now. Going to have that review out sometime here whenever I feel like getting around to it. And then I'll have probably a review on the intense as well. I can tell you here, just as a little spoiler alert here, the timeless version, not my favorite. I don't like this one as much as Lacoste L'Homme. That's just going to be a little cliffhanger. I don't want to get into it and make this video 10 minutes longer. Watch out for that review on timeless coming up soon. That's going to do it for me, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night with another one. Take care.